Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarva Lokanam, Bhishaje Bhavaroginam, Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam, Sri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Okay, I'm sharing a link on the chat. So those of you who want to have a reference to the 12th chapter Bhagavad Gita, you can find the chapter there. I'll also share the screen here so that those of you who can read Devanagari, you can also see from my screen. So today, the topic that I have been allocated is the Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter called Bhakti Yoga. And so Bhakti Yoga is one of the smaller chapters in Bhagavad Gita, consisting of just 20 shlokas. And so there are two chapters with 20 shlokas. One is the 12th chapter, the other is the 15th chapter. And Bhagavad Gita totally has 701 shlokas. So comparatively easy chapter to learn. And so we will chant one or two shlokas which we normally chant before we take up Bhagavad Gita in any form. And yeah, 1 second. And, okay. Is my screen visible? Can you see Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, Vasaji.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. Okay, so these are some of the dhyana shlokas which generally we chant before the Bhagavad Gita is touched upon. There are actually 9 dhyana shlokas, but I chanted only 4 selectively. So now coming to the Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, as most of you would know, Bhagavad Gita has about 18 chapters, totally 18 chapters. Out of that, the first chapter, there is no teaching. The actual teaching begins from the 11th shloka of the second chapter. And then the teaching goes on till the 66th shloka of the 18th chapter. Okay, and in the tradition, the entire Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 parts containing 6 chapters each. So a unit that contains 6 of anything is called a shatkam. So the Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 shatkams, and the chapter 1 to 6 is the first shatkam. Chapter 7 to 12 is the second shatkam, Madhyama shatkam, and 13 to 18 is called the Charama shatkam or the final shatkam. So in that sense, the 12th chapter is a milestone chapter. It is the last chapter of the middle shatkam. And what is the significance of these shatkams? Just briefly, so you have this Upanishadic Mahavakyam, Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Tvam Asi means that you are. And there the word that represents the Paramatma Tattvam, Tvam represents the Jivatma Tattvam, and Asi represents the identity. Okay, so these three shatkams of Bhagavad Gita are mapped to these three words. The first 6 chapters are supposed to be an elaboration of the Tvam Pada. So, what is the Jiva? What is the Purushartha or the objectives that the Jiva has to perform or pursue? And it is also about Karma Yoga. So, the first 6 chapters deal with the Jiva, the Purusharthas of Jiva, and Karma Yoga. The 7 to 12 middle Shatkam focuses on the Tat Padam, that is the description of the Paramatma, Paramatma Tattvam Bhagavan. And of course, the 13 to 18 last Shatkam focuses on the equation or the identity of Jivatma and Paramatma. So, this is the Advaitic point of view. So, in that sense, the Bhakti Yoga is a summarization of the discussions about Paramatma in the previous chapters. And to understand the 12th chapter, one should remember that the 10th and 11th chapters are very closely connected to the 12th chapter, because in the 10th chapter, Bhagavan talks about the glories of Ishvara. It is called the Vibhuti Yoga. The 10th chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga, and there the entire chapter deals with the glory of Bhagavan, which is called the Vibhuti. And then in the 11th chapter, Bhagavan shows himself to Arjuna in his cosmic form. So it is called the Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. 11th chapter is called Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga chapter. And there Arjuna is able to see Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, as the cosmos itself. Okay, or the cosmos as Bhagavan, whichever way you want it. Yeah. So the 12th chapter is a sort of logical continuation of the 10th and 11th chapters. Then Arjuna begins the chapter with a question. So the 12th chapter, you can broadly divide into 2 parts. The first 12 shlokas is the actual Bhakti Yoga part. There Bhagavan explains what Bhakti Yoga is about. And 13 to 20 is actually some kind of a Phalashruti. It is the description of the benefits that one can enjoy when one successfully practices the Bhakti Yoga, as described in the first 12 shlokas. Okay, and the first part begins with a question from Arjuna. Okay, so I am not reading the shlokas line by line and explaining, because the Bhakti Yoga can be explained over 7-8 hours. So it's a very elaborate concept. So because we have only 1 hour time, I'll just give a bird's eye view and summary, and where necessary, I'll go to specific shlokas and look at specific words. Okay, so I'm not attempting a word by word explanation of the entire chapter. Okay, so Arjuna's question is, hey Krishna, I saw your cosmic form, Vishwarupa, in the previous, in the 11th chapter. And so there are people who worship you in your cosmic form, or even as an individual. So it is more like a Saguna worship. So there are people who worship you in your Saguna form, and then there are others who worship you in your Nirguna form. Okay, so the question comes, how does Arjuna know about Nirguna form? Because Bhagavan has not yet talked about Nirguna. It looks like he has heard it from some other sources. Okay, so evam satata yukta ye bhaktaha tvam paryupasate. The tvam paryupasate here means you in your Saguna form. Paryupasate is to worship. Yecha api aksharam avyaktam. Aksharam avyaktam refers to the Nirguna form. Aksharam is that which is not subject to decay. D-E-C-A-Y, decay. Avyaktam is the unmanifest. And here the unmanifest we should understand as unobjectifiable. That which cannot be objectified. So Aksharam Avyaktam refers to the Nirguna form, So there are people who worship you in your Saguna form, and there are other people who worship you in your Nirguna form. So who is superior between these two groups? That is basically the question from Arjuna. That is the first shloka. Okay. Now, Krishna answers this question in the next 5 or 6 shlokas. Okay. And if you see the answer from Krishna, it would be a little confusing, because he is going to say in second shloka that those who worship me in my Saguna form are superior. That is the point he makes in the second shloka. Mayyaveshya mano yemam nityayukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetaha te me yuktatama mataha. That word yuktatama means they are better or superior. Okay. Mayyaveshya mano yemam. Here the word mam refers to the Saguna form. Nitya yukta upasate. Nitya yukta means regularly, without any interruption, constantly. Yeah. Shraddhaya paraya upetaha. Shraddhaya paraya means with absolute sincerity. So they are upasakas of Krishna or maybe Ishvara in a Saguna form. So they require a certain form and shape and certain qualities. All those are required for the upasaka. So that is the first shloka. So he says they are superior. But then the next 3 shlokas, which deals with the Nirguna worship, that takes a very curious turn. He says the Nirguna worshippers reach me. Okay, so the Saguna worshippers are superior, but the Nirguna worshippers attain me. Where does he say that? He says, Te prapnuvanti mameva. That is 4th shloka, 12.4. Okay, Te prapnuvanti mameva means they reach me. Okay, and there that eva, you have to actually connect to all the 3 words. Te eva mam prapnuvanti. They only reach me. Te prapnuvanti eva. So they definitely reach me. And te mameva prapnuvanti. They reach only me. They don't go anywhere else. Okay, so the 12.4 apparently contradicts the statement in 12.2. Okay, so how do you reconcile this? You reconcile this by knowing that the question itself was wrong. The question itself was wrong, but Krishna does not want to tell Arjuna that, hey Arjuna, your question is wrong. So he is giving a roundabout answer. Why do we say the question was wrong? When you say that you have a choice between A and B, then you can question whether A is superior or B is superior. Okay, so let's say I am going out for an outing, for a party or get together or whatever. Let's say I am choosing a kurta. So I have 4 or 5 different kurtas, and I am trying to choose if this is better or that is better. There I have a choice, and it is perfectly fine to say that one kurta is better than the other. But I don't debate whether I should wear a kurta or a pant. Okay, because both pant and kurta are essential for a complete dress. Okay, so this question of Saguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti is a little like debating whether wearing a pant is better or wearing a kurta is better. Because according to Krishna, both Saguna worship and Nirguna worship are required in a particular sequence. And that is the that is the whole message that will come in the remaining parts of this chapter. Okay, now before we get into the next set of shlokas, I want to give another overview as to what this whole Bhakti Yoga is all about. Most of us who are familiar with the Indian spiritual system, we understand in a very vague sense what is Bhakti. Okay, so Bhakti we generally translate as worship. performing puja, going to temple, doing pilgrimage to kshetras and all those things, or chanting some shloka. So basically, a kind of a relationship with the Lord, a relationship with the Ishvara. And in the Bhagavatam also there are chapters which talk about Navavida Bhakti. There are 9 types of devotion you can have. You can treat Bhagavan as your friend, you can treat Bhagavan as your child, you can treat Bhagavan as your mother or whatever. You can have all kinds of relationship. You can treat him as a friend, you can treat him as a guru. So you can have different types of relationship with the Ishvara. And so we generally think that bhakti means being devoted to the Ishvara or God. But in this chapter, Krishna says that bhakti yoga or bhakti is not one particular sadhana, but it is a complete range of several sadhanas. And that idea will be explained in these shlokas from 5 to 12. Okay. So what are these sadhanas? So broadly speaking, Krishna says the Nirguna Ishvara Upasana or Nirguna Ishvara Dhyanam, that is the ultimate stage. That is there are 5 levels that Krishna is going to talk about. So the highest level or the 5th level is the Nirguna worship, which he is already talked about in the 3rd and 4th shlokas. Yetu Aksharam Anirdeshyam. I am on the 3rd shloka. Yetu Aksharam Anirdeshyam Avyaktam Paryupasate. Sarvatragam Achintyam Cha Kutastham Achalam Dhruvam. So these are all adjectives that talk about the Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna Ishvara. Nirguna Brahman, it's a better word. Yeah. Ishvara means Sagunam. So that Nirguna worship, which is also called Jnana Yoga, which is also called Nididhyasanam in the Vedantic literature, that is the highest form of worship. That is the highest level of bhakti. And the next 2 levels actually are Saguna Upasana. Saguna Ishvara Upasana. So why are there 2 levels of Saguna Ishvara Upasana? In the 4th level, you worship Ishvara as the cosmic form, or it is called Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana or Aneka Rupa Ishvara Upasana. So it is not restricted to one form of Ishvara. It is not restricted to, say, Ganapati or Rama or Shiva or Devi. It is to worship the whole cosmos as Ishvara. That is the 4th stage. And the 3rd stage is to worship Ishvara in one particular form. So Saguna Ishvara as your Ishta Devata. It is called Ekarupa Ishvara. So that is the 3rd level. And then the 2nd and 1st levels, together they are the Karma Yoga level. And the 2nd level, that is one level below the Ekarupa Ishvara, the 2nd level is the Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga, and the 1st level is Sakama Karma Yoga. Okay, so we will see the details in the following shlokas, but this is just basically the broad overview. At the highest level is Nididhyasanam, which is Nirguna Ishvara Upasana. Then the 4th and 3rd is Saguna Ishvara Upasana. And the 2nd and 1st level, the lowest are Nishkama Karma Yoga and Sakama Karma Yoga. Okay. So, in the Kleshodhikatarastesham, I am on the 5th shloka. Yeah. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyaktahi gatir dukkham dehavadhiravapyate. So this shloka is basically a word of caution about the difficulties surrounding the highest Nirguna Upasana, Nirguna Brahma Upasana or Nididhyasanam. Here he says, practicing this Nididhyasana is the most challenging because most people have an attachment to their body. Dehavadbhihi. The word dehavat here means those who identify themselves very strongly with their body-mind complex. So, avyaktahi gatir dukkham. So, the word dukkham here means difficulty, not sorrow. Okay. So, avyaktahi gatir dukkham means the pursuit of the avyakta Ishvara as a nirguna Ishvara, as a nirguna Brahman, that upasana is more difficult because most people are attached to their body, whereas in the nididhyasanam stage, the main teaching is that you are not your body, you are not your mind, you are not your intellect. So that is the entire crux of Jnana Yoga. But if somebody is very strongly attached to the body and very strongly identifies themselves with the body, then it is very difficult for them to put this nididhyasanam into their day-to-day life. Okay, so that's a word of caution. But the point is, it may be difficult, but one has to prepare oneself to make it easy. Okay, just because it is difficult, it does not mean that you have other alternate ways to attain moksha. You know, this nididhyasanam is the one that leads the the spiritual seeker directly to moksha. All the other sadhanas are progressively leading to the next level. So if somebody says that nididhyasanam is difficult, then it has to be made easy by preparing themselves properly, and those preparatory stages are the steps 4, 3, 2 and 1. Okay, so this fifth shloka is a word of caution that nididhyasanam is not all that easy. Okay, now in the sixth shloka, what he says, Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha mayyaveshita chetasam. So the sixth and seventh shloka are basically about the fourth level, which I said is the Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana or Aneka Rupa Ishvara Upasana. So he says that those who perform this Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana Ananyenaiva Yogena. Ananyenaiva means without resorting to any other means, they are focused sincerely on this upasana in the Vishwarupa form. Sarvani karmani mai sanyasya. Sanyasya here means to dedicate. So they dedicate all their activities to the Lord and then rely on the Ishvara to provide the appropriate benefit. Okay, so they may be involved very actively in this worldly life, but their activity is not to receive any material benefit. They perform all their activities as a service to the Lord, and then they accept the returns as a prasada from Ishvara. So that is the sixth and seventh shloka. So for them, Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. I help them cross over this cycle of birth and death. Mrityu samsara sagara refers to the samsara where there is constant birth and rebirth, constant birth, death and rebirth. From that cycle, I save them or I rescue them. How? By promoting them to the fifth level, which is the Jnana Yoga level. So a steadfast commitment to Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana will eventually promote the person to be qualified for Jnana Yoga. That is the fifth and sixth and seventh shloka. Yeah, Bhavavi Nachirat. Nachirat means at the earliest. There is no commitment on it will be 5 years, 15 years. No, at the earliest means depending on the readiness of the student, the person will make progress. Okay. Then, if that Aneka Rupa Ishvara Upasana is not possible for somebody, then in the 8th shloka, Krishna says, we'll come one level down. Mayyeva mana adhatsva. Mayi buddhim niveshaya. Nivasishyasi mayyeva. No, that is also this one. Sorry. 6, 7 and 8 belong to the same. Aneka Rupa Ishvara. So 6, 7 and 8. Mayyeva mana adhatsva. Mayi buddhim niveshaya. Nivasishyasi mayyeva ata urdhvam na samshaya. So if you continue on the Aneka Rupa, Vishwarupa, Ishvara Upasana, you will eventually make progress to Jnana Yoga. So 6, 7 and 8 are about Aneka Rupa, Ishvara Upasana. 9th shloka is about the Ishta Devata Upasana. Atha Chittam Samadhatum Na Shaknoshi Mayi Sthiram Abhyasa Yogena Tato Mam Ichhaptum Dhananjaya. So Atha Chittam Samadhatum Na Shaknoshi. If you are unable to fix your mind on the Aneka Rupa Ishvara Upasana, because in the Aneka Rupa Ishvara Upasana, you have to have a very broad and mature mind to accept the entire cosmos as Ishvara without any exceptions. And that is not very easy for many people, because most of us have some kind of a preferences and prejudices. Okay, so to get rid of all those preferences and prejudices is not easy. So Krishna says, if you are not able to do that, you can come one level down and worship me as your Ishta Devata. That word Abhyasa Yoga. Abhyasa Yoga refers to the Ishta Devata Upasana. So if you say you are more inclined to worship Krishna or Rama or Shiva or Devi or Ganesha or Subramanya or Anjaneya, whatever form, in the Hindu Sanatana pantheon, you have not only human form gods, you also have gods in the form of trees and plants and mountains. You can worship the sun, you can worship the stars. So even chakras, there is a Sri Chakra. It's just a yantra. It is not any human form. So you can have a Sri Chakra Upasana also. So you have innumerable choices on what you can choose as your Ishta Devata. So that word Abhyasa Yoga refers to choosing one particular form on which you will perform your devotion Upasana. So that Abhyasa Yogena Tato Mam Ichhaptum Dhananjaya. So you try to reach me through that one chosen form, which is your Ishta Devata. And what will happen if that person does that for a length of time, then eventually he becomes prepared or ready for the 4th level, which is the Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana. And then from there he will go to the 5th level, which is Jnana Yoga. So Krishna is here going from the topmost level to the lowest level in a reverse order. So that we have to understand. Okay. So in the 10th shloka he says, Abhyasepi asamarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madarthamapi karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. So if somebody says, no, I don't even want to do any Ishta Devata Upasana, I don't have an Ishta Devata, I am more concerned about activity. I want to be in the society and be active and not sit in some corner and do some meditation and all that. Krishna says, okay, so you do all the activities that you want, but you do it as a service to me, Madartham api karmani kurvan. So that Madartham api karmani means you perform all your activities as a service to me. So that is called a Nishkama Karma. And in Nishkama Karma, the focus is on making as many other people as beneficiaries as possible. The performer of the karma can be one of the beneficiaries, but the karma is not performed for the exclusive benefit of the person performing. So it is a little like social work, or working for the common good. So when you work for the common good, you can be one of the beneficiaries, but you are not the only beneficiary. So that is the Nishkama Karma. So you be in service to the society and dedicate all your activities and all the results of your activities to the Lord, and that itself is a form of worship. Okay, that mat karma paramo bhava, madarthamapi karmani kurvan. So that means you dedicate all the activities and all your actions and all your results to me. To me means to the world, because ultimately you have to consider the whole world as Ishvara. So when you dedicate it to the world, you are dedicating it to Ishvara. That is the meaning. And in the 11th shloka, he says, if you can't do that, and you are very clear that you want the results of your action to be only benefiting you, that is also fine. Athaidadapya shaktosi kartum madhyogam sarva karma phalatyagam tatakuru yatatmavan. Okay, here that word sarva karma phalatyagam does not mean giving up the result. It simply means that, okay, you do all your actions for your personal benefit, but the difference is when the benefits do come to you, don't claim that the results are a result of my action. Instead, at that point, you must remember to say that the results are Ishvara Prasada, they are gift from God. So you just develop an attitude that even though you are performing all your activities for your own, selfish benefit, when you actually enjoy those benefits, you mentally and verbally say that this is all gift of God. So when you practice doing that over a length of time, you also start becoming more and more open to sharing the results of your work with the rest of the society. So that is a way of broadening your whole outlook and to make you more and more mature in terms of your ability to share and your ability to contribute. Because ultimately in our Sanatana Dharma, the person who has contributed to the society is considered superior to the person who has amassed a lot of wealth for himself but hasn't given much to anybody. Okay, unlike in the Western society, the Western society looks upon the billionaires and the trillionaires as achievers. But in the Sanatana Dharma framework, the achievers are the ones who have contributed to the society. And I mean, it doesn't mean that they have been paupers. They may be rich, but in spite of being rich, they are not, hoarding all their wealth for their own, benefit and their own enjoyment. They also share it with the society. That's why in the past, 300, 400 years back, you would see a lot of free schools and free facilities created for travelers, and people will plant trees, and they those days there were no trains or buses, right? So you'll have to travel by walk. So you'll find a lot of places along the traveling routes where travelers can stay for free and they'll even get some food. So those kind of charitable work was very, very prominent 200, 300 years back. Nowadays everything is commercialized, so you don't see much of that. Yeah, but even today you do have hospitals which offer free treatment and so on, but those numbers are shrinking. So this ability to say that this is not the result of my action, but this is a gift of God that I am now enjoying, that is a beginning point for sort of developing one's mental maturity. Okay, and this is the lowest form. And of course, here there is one caveat. Whatever activities you do to enjoy or to benefit yourself, those activities must be dharmic. So you're not supposed to do any adharmic activity and then say this is a gift of God. That is not done. So the activities that you perform should be dharmic. They should be within dharma, and you have that attitude that this is gift of God. So with that, the 11th shloka is over, and that is the lowest level. If somebody says I can't do that also, then we say better luck next janma. That's all. You cannot really help. And so, yeah, I mean, such a person may not even be interested in coming to spirituality. So he may have to go through a few more janmas before that person actually starts thinking about spirituality and all those questions. Okay, now the 12th shloka is a very interesting shloka. Here, Krishna takes 4 options and compares them. Okay, I'll read the shloka. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat jnanat dhyanam visishyate dhyanat karma phalatyagaha tyagat shanti anantaram. So, the 4 sadhanas that he talks about are abhyasa. Abhyasa is 1, jnanam is 2, dhyanam is 3, and karma phalatyagam is 4. Okay, so abhyasa, jnanam, dhyanam, and karma phalatyagam. So what are these 4? So abhyasa we already saw in the 9th shloka. Abhyasa, there was eka rupa ishvara upasana, or it is the ishtadevata upasana. Okay, but in the 12th shloka, that same abhyasa is given a more restricted meaning. Here the person performs the ishtadevata upasana, but does it in a mechanical manner without really understanding the concepts or the theory or whatever you call, without understanding why he is doing, what is the reason and all that. So he is doing blindly because he learns from somebody, maybe his father or mother taught him, and this is how he should do it, and he is doing it mechanically. So that is abhyasa here, a mechanical performance of the upasana, ishtadevata upasana. That is abhyasa. The second is jnanam. Jnanam is, this person has learnt everything about what the upasana is all about, why it should be done and all that, but he's just got that knowledge. He doesn't actually do the upasana. So he is a knowledgeable person who is not doing upasana. So this is the first one, abhyasa, is devotion without knowledge. The second one, jnanam, is knowledge without devotion or knowledge without the upasana. And the third, dhyanam, is basically a combination of the knowledge and the upasana. So the dhyanam, the one who is performing dhyanam, knows what he is doing, why he is doing, the significance and concepts and all that, and he is also regularly doing the upasana. So he is the complete devotee. And the fourth is karma phalatyagam, which is exactly what Krishna said in the 11th shloka, the previous shloka, which is, you do all your work, and at the end of the thing, when the result comes, they say this is because of God's gift. That is karma phalatyagam. Now in the 12th shloka, Krishna actually does a mischief. He says abhyasa is inferior to jnanam, or jnanam is superior to abhyasa, and then dhyanam is superior to jnanam, and then he says karma phalatyagam is superior to dhyanam. Okay, if you remember the previous 5-6 shlokas, there karma phalatyagam was the lowest. It was level 1, and here he is elevating it to level 4. Is that not a contradiction? Okay, so here we should understand that really speaking, karma phalatyagam is not the superior most. It is in fact the most inferior. But because the majority of the people in the world, about 90, 95, 99% of the people in the world are materially oriented, he wants to give them some kind of a consolation that even if you pursue material goals, it is still good. So don't feel discouraged. So it is more like a lollipop given to the 99% majority of the world's population, that look, at least because of this 12th shloka, you get into karma phalatyagam mode, and then maybe you will become abhyasa yoga upasaka, and then you may graduate eventually to aneka rupa ishvara and all that. So it is more like a lowering the bar to make people even attempt to enter this whole staircase. The staircase consisting of 5 steps. Okay, so the 12th shloka has to be taken with a pinch of salt. So really speaking, dhyanam is superior to karma phalatyagam. But because Krishna does not want to discourage the majority of the people in the world. He says the karma phala tyagam is better so that people can start actually following karma phala tyagam as a starter. Okay, so with that 12th shloka, the real teaching part of karma yoga, the bhakti yoga is over. The remaining 8 shlokas of bhakti yoga, 12th chapter, are more about the benefit or the result of successful practice of bhakti yoga. Okay, so adveshta sarvabhutanam maitraha karunayevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukha kshami. So you will find all these shlokas provide a lot of qualities which one gets to develop, one gets to even display and live. And these qualities do not come overnight. So they evolve over time. So some of the examples he is giving, adveshta sarvabhutanam. So a person who has reached the jnana yoga stage is able to look at all beings, all living beings without any prejudice or preference. So for him, every living being is valuable. Adveshta means he does not hate anyone. He doesn't hate anyone. Anyone means not just people, even the living beings. Any living being, he has no hatred towards. Maitraha karuna evacha. So he is developed a friendly disposition and he is compassionate. Karuna. Karuna is compassionate. Karunaha. Actually, the karunaha is the correct word. Eva, because it's a vowel, that visarga is dropped. So karunaha means he's a very compassionate person. Then nirmamaha nirahankaraha. Nirmamaha means he is not obsessed with his possessions. You know, he knows that the possessions are available to him for certain purpose, and he treats himself as a trustee of his possessions. So that nirahankaraha is also without any strong attachment to the body-mind complex. So the nirmama and nirahankara, they go together. So the nirmama pertains to the own properties and possessions that you own. Nirahankaraha means your attitude towards your own body and mind and intellect. So you are not excessively attached to your body-mind complex and you are not excessively attached to your possessions. That is nirmamo nirahankaraha. Sama dukkha sukha. So sama dukkha sukha means you are able to maintain a certain mental composure and equanimity even when things are good and things are not good. In times of elation and in times of adversarial situations, you are able to maintain a certain composure. That is samadukha sukha. Then kshami. So kshami has multiple meanings. In one form, you can say that you are able to forgive others when they do something wrong to you. Then another contextual meaning of kshami is that he has a lot of forbearance. He is able to withstand a lot of physical and mental discomfort without retaliating. Okay, that is also kshami. Okay, then santushtaha satatam. So he is always in a satisfied and happy state of mind. Okay, he is santushta satatam. So santoshaha means contentment actually. So he's always content. So he's not hankering after this and that. I want this, I want that. So that is not there. So he's content with whatever he has. That is santushtaha satatam. Then yogi. Here the word yogi means one who has all these 5 steps. He has performed all the 5 steps, and so he's at the 5th step, right? So here you can say a yogi is a nididhyasaka. So he's always aware of the teachings of the jnana yoga, and so he's constantly remembering the Vedantic teachings. That is yogi. Then yatatma drida nishchaya. Yatatma means he is constantly endeavoring to follow the path that he has set for himself. So it could be anything. It could be the upasana path, it could be the karma yoga path, it could be the dhyana yoga path, whatever he has decided to do, he continues to do it, and that with unwavering effort. That is the word, that is the meaning of yatatma. Dhrida nishchayaha means he is determined. So once he has set himself a goal, no matter what the obstacles that come in between, he does not give up the goal. So that is dhrida nishchaya. So he's got a lot of determination. Then Mayi arpita manobuddhihi, and he is always constantly thinking of Ishvara. So you can be constantly thinking of Ishvara either as a jnana yogi, you remember Aham Brahmasmi, that teaching, or if you are at the Vishwarupa Ishvara level, you can always say that, the world that I am seeing is none other than God. So that could be different ways of saying that Mayi arpita manobuddhihi. So you are dedicating yourself all your life to the service of the Lord. That's also another meaning of Mayi arpita manobuddhihi. Then yasmat na udvijate lokaha lokat na udvijate chayah. Okay, this is a very unique quality. Yasmat na udvijate lokaha. So udvijate here means to irritate or to provoke. Okay, so he is very soft when dealing with others. So he does not provoke anybody. Okay, but he is hard as a diamond when provocation comes from outside. Okay, lokat na udvijate means he is not provoked by anything that happens from the external world. Okay, yasmat na udvijate lokaha means he does not provoke or irritate the external world. He doesn't provoke anybody. He doesn't instigate against anybody. So it's a quality. When you deal with others, you are soft like a flower, but when you receive action from others, you are hard like a diamond. You are not affected easily. So that's a very difficult quality to develop. Okay, then harsha amarsha bhaya udvegaihi muktaha yaha sacha me priya. So this is actually a repetition of the samadukha sukha kshami, the same thing. Harsha amarsha bhaya udvegaihi muktaha. So harsha means elation, amarshaha means depression, bhaya is fear, udvegaha is provocation or irritation. So he is free from all these reactions. That is the harsha amarsha bhayodvegaihi muktaha. Yaha sacha me priya. Sacha me priya means he is close to me, he is beloved to me. That is sacha me priya. Then anapekshaha shuchihi daksha udasino gatavyatha. Anapekshaha is the same as santushtaha. Anapekshaha means he doesn't have very many needs. His needs are limited. You can say he's a minimalist. Shuchihi means he is a clean person. Clean not only physically, he is clean in his words and his thoughts and deed also. That is Shuchihi. Daksha here means he is very efficient in whatever he does. So he is very capable and skillful. Then Udasinaha Gatavyatha. Udasinaha is the same as your Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegair Muktaha or the Samadukha Sukha Kshami. So Udasinaha means he is very composed no matter what happens. Gatavyatha means he is beyond pain. Okay. So these are all the qualities that are highlighted in this 12th chapter. There are a few more qualities which which are similar in nature. So for instance, Samaha Shatraucha Mitrecha Tatha Manapamanayoho. So he has the same attitude towards friends and foes. Yeah. And he's got the same attitude when he is honored or when he is insulted. So these are all the same ideas that you already saw, in the earlier shlokas. Okay, Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samah Sangha Vivarjitaha. So Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samaha is also the same as Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegai. So these are all the same ideas given in different words just to bring home the point that ultimately one has to develop a lot of tolerance to a lot of these ups and downs which we will always face in life. So the world is always full of ups and downs, the life is always full of ups and downs. So one has to develop a very deep sense of tolerance and forbearance and put up with all of these without retaliating or without reacting. So that is a quality that is emphasized in all these shlokas. Okay. And the last shloka, yetu dharmyamritamidam yathoktam paryupasate shraddhadhana matparama bhaktastetiva me priyaha. So the person who successfully practices this bhakti yoga as described in the 12th chapter is given a name. It is given the name Parama Bhaktaha. Shraddhadhana Matparama Bhaktaha. So he is called a Parabhakta. In the context of the 12th chapter, such a Bhakta is called a Parabhaktaha. Okay, and if you remember 7th chapter, there is a shloka Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam Janaha Sukritinarjuna Artho Jigyasur Artharthi Jnanicha Bharatashava. There Krishna classifies bhaktas into 4 categories. He says the first category of bhaktas are Artha bhaktas. They remember God when they are in a crisis. Okay, like Draupadi. The example we always give is Draupadi. So Draupadi cried out to the Lord and God came and saved her from that crisis. Or sometimes we give the example of Dhruva and Prahlada also. No, Dhruva was insulted by stepmother and then he surrendered to the Lord. Or Prahlada was, being tortured by his father and then he surrendered to Narsimha. So these are some of the Artha Bhakta examples. Artharthi Bhakta is one who cuts a business deal with the Ishvara. So they include Ishvara as their 10% or 20% partner in their business. And then at the end of the year, they calculate the profit and put that cash in Tirupati in the cash box or wherever. Okay, so they are treating Bhagavan as a means to an end. So the Artha Bhakta and Artharthi Bhakta are those who treat Bhagavan as a means to an end. And the Jigyasu Bhakta is the one who is curious to know what exactly is this Ishvara. So he is no longer interested in using Bhagavan as a means to an end, but he is looking at Bhagavan as an end itself. That is Jigyasu Bhakta, and that is the person who eventually comes to Jnana Yoga. And then the Jnani Bhakta is the one who has gone through Jnana Yoga and completely understood what Ishvara is all about, and he is a Jnani. And so these are the 4 levels of bhaktas given in the 7th chapter. In the 12th chapter, that Jnani Bhakta is here called Parabhaktaha. Shraddhadhana Matparama Bhaktaste Ativa Me Priyaha. So they are the most beloved ones from my point of view. So with that, the 12th chapter is concluded here. Okay, so I try to give as much as a, shall we say, efficient summary of the 12th chapter as possible. Maybe I have missed a few important points, I don't know, but as I said, the 12th chapter deserves 7 to 8 hours of explanation, and compressing that into 1 hour was not so easy. So I hope whatever was shared with you was useful to you. Yeah, any questions? No? Okay, then we can conclude. Yeah, Subhuji?
No questions, Vasuji, but it was hugely helpful. I learned quite a few things today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I find that too. Without having a good grasp of Sanskrit, you have explained it very logically also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll conclude.
Say the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any questions, but it was very enlightening. All things that we learn in Vedanta session here, it was like a compact thing, but very useful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, my sincere request to all of you is, it's a very small chapter, 20 shlokas. It's very easy to memorize. So maybe you can memorize the 12th chapter and try to chant it as regularly as possible. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvepi Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukkha bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Vasu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasuji.
Thank you so much.